Hello, my name is James Hunter, and this is my 2 Cents channel where I talk about topics from physical fitness, mental health, wellness, and just topics I might be interested in. Today I'm going to talk about physical fitness and wellness and talk about being hydrated and basically water intake. It's getting hotter. It's the summertime here in South Texas, and I noticed, particularly this time of year, with the heat, which has an impact on our need to stay hydrated, that a lot of people do not drink enough water. Now I'm going to talk about the health implications, but also for people who are athletes, people who are working out, and so on. Now a lot of people who are intermediate to advanced in terms of their fitness, working out, they already know a lot of this, if not, haven't already been practicing staying hydrated. But for those of you who may be more like novice or beginners, and you're starting to change the way you eat, you've been working out, perhaps this is an area you haven't been really putting a lot of focus on, or just you've been distracted, or you're just not drinking enough water, not on purpose, but just because that hasn't been something that you're aware of as much, because you just haven't really gotten any information about this topic. So this video, there's a lot of sources out there in terms of literature. I'm a member of the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I'm a certified personal trainer with the NSCA as well. So, I read their journals of strength and conditioning research, and also their magazines and different publications that they have. They're a good source of studies that are put out. There's other sources too. Some are, can be dated back, 10 years ago. Some are more recent. But what you'll see is a consistency in what the literature says in a lot of these studies. One particular article or study that I'm looking at for this video is from the Strength and Conditioning Journal, volume 32, number 2, and basically it's a review of hydration. So there's some concepts, just for the sake of being able to cite a reference, that I'm not just making this up. You can look yourself. I'll put a reference to this in the description below the video, and you can just take a look around. This is not just me saying it. So let's look at some concepts. Let's look at the properties of water. And I'm just going to kind of, give some working concepts here before I kind of give my thoughts and also some opinions. So the properties of water. Water is a multifunctional macronutrient. One of the utmost important functions of water is heat regulation. A lot of people know this, body heat. Water acts as a buffer when body temperature rises. The human body approximately is 60% fluid. So thermoregulation, and that could be a whole separate video by itself as far as how our body regulates temperature, but water is very important for that. I see people working outdoors, they're drinking Coca-Cola, sodas, a lot of sugar. It's fluid, but it's not as beneficial as just drinking water, and yes, making sure you get enough electrolytes to be congruent or consistent with the amount of fluid you're taking in. You're doing a lot of sweating. So I see a lot of people, you're having heat stroke and so on, heat exhaustion, a lot of that happening, unfortunately, because people are just not cognizant or mindful to stay hydrated when you're outside. So that's one. Just that alone, if you're in a hot climate, it's just a practical reason to be drinking water. You don't want to find yourself in trouble on a hot summer day outside working in the yard. So hydration, health, and disease. Let's look at this. Mild dehydration is a factor in the development of various conditions and diseases. Conditions associated with the negative impacts of hypohydration or dehydration include alterations in amniotic fluids, prolonged labor, cystic fibrosis, and renal toxicity secondary to dehydration, altering how contrast agents are metabolized. So how we metabolize and break things down in our body is affected by hydration. Specific to our kidneys, our filters, you're not getting enough fluid. That's going to put a lot of stress on those organs and create a lot of problems. So let me see, as far as, the chronic effects, that's what I want to talk about. So I mentioned mild. Chronic effects of dehydration. Systemic effects include associations with urinary tract infections, gallstones, constipation, that's no fun, hypertension, bladder and colon cancer, venous thromboembolism, cerebral infarcts, strokes, dental disease, kidney stones, mitral valve prolapse, glaucoma, and diabetic ketoacidosis. So rehydration and proper hydration assist with condition management, disease prevention, and the betterment of health. So I've known people who've had kidney stones, and they started drinking a lot of water, started also taking raw, organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, Dr. Bragg's, that's the brand I use. So they'll start increasing their fluid intake, and they can turn this situation around in some cases. I've seen people get rid of kidney stones by just changing their hydration habits and just paying more attention to that. So as you can see, there's a lot of potential consequences in terms of creating a disease situation or exacerbating certain types of diseases in the body. So with me, when I think about our heart having to pump blood through the body, our blood contains about 93% of water. Our muscles contain about 73% of water, and fat mass contains about 10% of water. So if you're dehydrated, I think it's just going to create more stress through your vascular system trying to pump blood. Instead of it being being hydrated, it kind of is more syrupy is how I think of it. It's not as diluted or where that consistency it needs to be, as it's been described to me one time by a friend who's a doctor. So when we look at muscles being 73% water, just a quick little sideline tangent related to this is that with bodybuilding, I've done some amateur bodybuilding contests in the NPC, and I know back in the 90s and then even recently now there's still some people who will restrict fluids, dramatically, 48 hours, sometimes the week before, they just really restrict a lot of fluid intake because they want to have that dry look, as it's called, or as far as how ripped they're going to look when they're on stage. So from what I've read and looking at the literature is that if this can be overdone to the point, not only that, it can damage your kidneys, but if your muscles, think about it, are 73% water, and then just on a cellular level, people who take illicit diuretics, even more extreme, it's actually counterproductive. If your muscles are 73% water and you're restricting fluid too much, it can actually make you look flat. And this is not just my opinion. I've heard a lot of people who are credible talk about this particular issue. So specific to athletic performance, we're going to talk about why this is important too. Performance that relies on muscle performance, sprinting, jumping, and athletic performance in general. So when we look at this, water is the largest constituent of the human body. It accounts for more than 60% of the human body's volume. And water is essential for cellular homeostasis, playing important roles in physiological and biochemical functions. So you can look at this literature yourself, and I'm not trying to get too academic about it as far as all the the in-depth discussions that can be had. There's so much that can be said on this topic, but I just want to make the point that there are consequences to not staying properly hydrated. So I want to touch real quick on what some of the recommendations are, okay? Because the Institute of Medicine, kind of had some recommendations related to water hydration needs. As recent as 2004 is actually when they had their fourth official recommendation. It may have changed since then, but it's so variable because individuals are, you're looking at different variables like heat, climate, physical activity, all kinds of things can factor in. So having a one-size-fits-all may not always going to be what's appropriate for everyone. So when we look at hydration, physical and athletic performances, and I'm just going to take this right out of here from the NSCA's Strength and Conditioning Journal, Volume 32, Number 2, that there's overwhelming consistent conclusion across multiple research studies, academic societies, training associations, is that dehydration can significantly impact performance of particular concern in warmer climate conditions. That's not a surprise. Thus, fluid replacement guidelines that they're getting more, been working more on establishing what guidelines can be. But as mentioned before, it's going to depend on different factors. Your training status, someone who's sedentary versus someone who's been working out a while, your body may be more efficient in how it regulates hydration and things like that. As far as its turnover with using water for different functions. So it is known that approximately 5 to 10% of total body water is turned over daily through obligatory losses such as respiration, urine, and sweat. So whether you're outside working out or not, I know some people when I'm at work, I'll try to encourage them, hey, you might want to try drinking some more water. You're going to be outside a lot today. And they'll be like, well, I'm not working out today. Or they'll think they're not doing a whole lot physically. So what people should consider is that even if you're not working out, you still sweat without realizing it. You sweat when you sleep, urination, respiration, and so on. So you're going to lose 5 to 10% of your total body water anyways. So the point is, it doesn't have to be complicated, or you can have different reasons for needing to be hydrated. I've given a bunch already. But if you don't stay on top of this, it's going to be something that can catch up to you throughout the week, and you can run into problems. For me, I have a container I drink out of at work. If I fill it up 5 times, that's a gallon of water right there. So from the time I'm at work, before I leave, my goal is to drink, fill it up 5 times and drink 5 containers worth of water before I leave. That's one way to look at it. It's not difficult. Some people get overwhelmed. They're thinking about, if you want to use the rule of 1 gallon of water a day. For some people that can vary based on, the demands you put on yourself. But let's just use the 1 gallon rule that you hear a lot of people say. If you think of drinking a gallon at once, yeah, that can seem overwhelming. But from the time you wake up, a lot of us drink coffee. I do. My coffee, I drink it black, by the way, no sugar, nothing added. Plus, start drinking, I drink about 2 glasses of water when I wake up, have my coffee, and then throughout the rest of the day, I'm going to drink water. My other video about drinking water at night, which I made a while back, I'll link it below. Conceptually speaking, and how people think about nighttime is different because you're asleep. But, if you're asleep on average 8 hours, that's a long time to be down on your back, your side, and you get up, you might urinate, a couple times in the night. Whether you drink water or not before you go to bed, you're going to urinate. So you're going back to sleep, you're not putting any fluid back in you, and you're sweating at night. So yeah, that can be a lot of stress on your body, particularly as you get older and for older people. So if you're going to get up to urinate at night, which you're going to pee anyways, you might as well, my suggestion or opinion is to drink water, when you get up. It doesn't have to be a lot, but drink, some water, half a glass, something, go back to sleep. That's going to help. You're getting some, hydration here during that 8-hour window on average for how much you sleep at nighttime. So that's going to be different for everybody. So we do know that, dehydration is going to affect athletic performance. I just know for myself, if I'm not drinking water enough before and even during my workouts, I can feel a difference in the performance as far as my strength, how many sets I'm going to get in, just my energy, and also just how much of a pump you feel you can get while working out. So dehydration can be defined as about a 2% loss of body weight and negatively impacts athletic performance as mentioned. So lots of things to think about and that can be said. The fluid replacement, I'm just going to read some of the suggestions here. Fluid replacement is a vital component and must be addressed in a different manner for people who are working out. It's different. So in general, sports nutritionists use the following fluid recommendations. So this is what I want to finish the video with, is some recommendations for people who are working out. Again, this is something you want to take a look at yourself. Everybody's different, so this is just sharing information. I'm not telling anyone what they should do. Rather, I encourage you, do your own research, but the general concept and the importance of being hydrated is the overall point of my video today, in terms of just how it's going to benefit your health, and it's a vital, important part of your overall nutrition, because one of the interesting things up here is that water is referred to as a multifunctional macronutrient. And when we think of macronutrients, what do we think about? Fats, carbs, and protein, right? That's what we're getting from food. And food has water in it too, by the way, which So how often do we think of water as being a macronutrient? But that is the term used that's being used. So let's look at the suggestions here. So 480 to 600 cc's of fluid 1 to 2 hours before exercise. 300 to 480 cc's of fluid 15 minutes before exercise. 120 to 180 cc's of fluid every 10 to 15 minutes during exercise. That's interesting because I've always drink water before I work out, and during my workout at the gym, I'm walking around with my water, I guess you get like those little shakers, protein shakes. You've seen them, there's all kinds. I use mine to drink water out of too while at the gym. So I'll move from one exercise to the next, get my steps in, and I'm drinking in between sets. I'll take some sips of water. And then after I've completed a particular exercise selection for one of the muscle groups I'm training, I walk to where the water fountain is, and then I fill it back up, and then I continue throughout my workout. And I have people sometimes ask me about that. You drink a lot of water during your workout, or I continue to drink water during my workout. To which I answer, yes, I do. I see some individuals going through their workouts and they don't drink anything at all during the workout. So in general, start fluid intake 24 hours before an exercise event. So again, I think with my habits, as much as I drink water, I fall within these guidelines or these suggestions that are being given. And, so what are your thoughts? What do you think about staying hydrated? How important is water consumption? What are some things you have noticed if you're someone who just started consuming water more or consumed it less? Leave some comments below if you want. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I appreciate it. This video is just some general information. It's not meant to be an answer for everything. It's just meant to get you to think. And you can go look yourself, like I mentioned. There's a lot of different sources of literature, more specific to different topics related to water intake. If you have maybe something you want to say that I did not mention in this video, go ahead and drop it below. Or if you want to suggest a topic for me to speak about, go ahead and leave that too below. What I do is basically I share information. I use sources that are evidence-based. I do my own research on things, and if I find something I want to share, I'll share it. And then I also will incorporate my opinions, thoughts, and some of my own experience professionally and just personally. So until I make another video, I hope you are having a good weekend. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you've watched a few of my videos, I do appreciate it, because the support for my channel and subscribers will help with my videos being shared more. And also, like I've mentioned in other videos, I just want to give information if it just gets people to think at a minimum and maybe can give some benefit. And that's why I do this. I'm not doing it like as a full-time job. I work for a living like most people, and professionally I get up and do my thing every day in my field, which is mental health, substance use, and also personal training. Those are the areas I work in as far as my professional experience. So in my spare time, I make videos on my YouTube channel, and I'll be developing and making other topics as I develop this channel. And hopefully I'm going to be doing more things outside. The weather has been better, so that's what my goal is for later this month. Take care and have a good day.